it is getting so good that it doesn't replace us. I think, there's a lot of talk about, is AI going to replace us? And I personally don't have that fear, but it can be a really, really amazing companion and assistant and thought partner in how we do our work.
Welcome back to CZ and Friends, where we explore how legal leaders are shaping the future of business and law and beyond. I'm your host, Cecilia Ziniti. Today, I'm joined by two leaders from Instacart who are turning AI and legal from hype to impact. These two women are incredible legal team members, and I'm so excited to speak with them. Nicole Altman is senior counsel at Instacart, where she leads AI governance, privacy, security, and IP. She's built AI tools that have won hackathons. She's been recognized in Instacart's earnings call, and she's served as the head of Women at Instacart, the company's largest ERG. Kelly Noguchi is senior legal technology and operations manager at Instacart, where she drives adoption of new technologies, builds systems that improve legal workflows, and leads efforts to make AI more accessible and effective across the team. Let's dive right in. Nicole, Kelly, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Cecilia.
Yeah.
So happy to be here.
Same here. So excited.
Awesome. Let's dive in. All right. So it's 2025. Everyone is saying this is the year of AI agents. We've got some legal teams are experimenting, some are a little more forward thinking. You two, I understand, are really at the forefront. Venture-backed company, moving fast. You've
Public
embedded
company.
AI. Say that one more time.
Public
Company. Oh my gosh, how did I
Public
forget?
company. Is that when it was?
I feel like it was right after the pandemic. We were the first one,
The first
during or
post-pandemic
right after.
IPO. All right. Well, so I stand corrected. So originally venture-backed company, but in any event,
Long
operating in
time
many ways like a
venture-backed.
massive startup, adding new geographies, serving millions of customers. So I think we found here, y'all are different. So you've embedded AI into workflows and you're seeing results at Instacart Legal. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I feel very fortunate to be at Instacart. I joined at the end of 2021 when uh, generative AI wasn't on my mind, wasn't on the public conscious. Instacart is very AI forward, I think, even among tech companies. And I feel really grateful to be at a company like that where AI exploration and experimentation is encouraged, even mandated. And we're giving the time and space to do that. And for someone like me who finds it endlessly exciting and fascinating, it's just wonderful.
I love that. How about you, Kelly? What's your take?
Yeah. I mean, generally, I feel so fortunate. Even if it's overwhelming sometimes, and I could definitely get into that too. When I have conversations with other people, I realize how much just advancement we got thanks to being at Instacart, just having the opportunities and support and just having that embedded in our day to day. It makes a huge difference for sure.
So when you say AI is embedded in day to day, or that innovation spirit is embedded in day to day, paint us a picture. So is there Instacart leadership principles, or what is it about the company that makes it as you described, Kelly?
I mean, like Nicole mentioned, I would say softly mandated, right? It's part of our goals, our personal team goals, company-wide goals. So everything's it's oriented towards, being fluent as possible with AI, and how we approach that. They give us a lot of leeway. So in that sense, I feel they just are able to say, okay, AI is going to be it's something that we all have to learn no matter what. And how you learn it and how you incorporate into your day to day, it's up to you. But that actually, I think engages a lot more people. So, it is just company wide initiatives. And then also, understanding that, personal productivity is tied to AI too. So, learning from all of the small tools that we have that's available to us towards building very scalable operations with AI. I feel like AI is just part of every conversation we have.
Love that.
Yeah, you hear still now, 3 years into the generative AI and the public consciousness explosion, you still hear of companies that don't have enterprise AI tools where people are using shadow AI because the company is not there yet. We're the opposite. We got enterprise AI very early on. And so, our engineers built this internal chatbot built on APIs of these companies that has been accessible to us from years ago, company-wide. And so it's been fantastic. We've had the ability to get hands on early on, and adoption and use is like growing and growing. And now there's more and more things that we're able to do every day, every week, it seems.
A lot of our listeners are, working on AI themselves or thinking about how to do it. Nicole, do you have specific examples of things that you do? And then, maybe walk us back to, 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, whenever you started to do these things. How did you kind of kick them off?
There's two broad categories of uses in my mind. There's the day-to-day simple interactions with a chatbot that can have these very meaningful productivity and creativity boosters. That is very easy, very accessible to do. And for most, if not, probably upwards of 90% of my work, I am consulting with an AI chatbot to refine my ideas, to help brainstorm, to be a thought partner, to critique my email, to critique my strategy, things like that. And then there are the bigger types of systems that it takes a little bit of time and investment to build these workflows. And there's a great time and place for both. But I think you mentioned at the start, agents are like the shiny new thing. Everybody's talking about agents. And that's great and good, but there's so much amazing things that AI can do just with the chatbots. We have these monthly MBRs where people from different pillars within the team present on what they're doing. Just was it yesterday or the day before, Kelly? Somebody had a slide like "I heart ChatGPT,"
Yeah,
and it's
privacy.
talking about how it's just radically transformed her work and the way she goes about it, because it is getting so good that it doesn't replace us. I think there's a lot of talk about is AI going to replace us, and I personally don't have that fear, but it can be a really, really amazing companion and assistant and thought partner and partner in how we do our work.
So you're in this MBR, and one of your attorneys on the team is so excited about the use of AI. What did you, as a legal ops person, do to get them to that point, if anything? And it is part of the culture, but like there's clearly, like, in legal ops, people talk about driving adoption. People talk about getting people over that hump of fear. Was that something deliberate on your side? Obviously, you're super experienced. Give us a little bit of the legal ops view.
Yeah, weirdly, I always well, nowadays I have like mixed feelings about people's reactions to the use of AI. And so to like try to answer your question about like adoption of even like the basic chat. So what, the user was excited about was like the chat function, the personal productivity chat mostly. So being able to engage with with the chat bot like ChatGPT to be able to come up with better outlines or helping with research and things like that. And that's like so important. And I feel like people, like a lot of studies, like including the MIT study that came up, like ignore that kind of like boost for personal productivity, because that's huge. And like Nicole said, I don't know what I did before ChatGPT. Like I feel like almost every part of my task, day to day, personal too, like I'm engaging with ChatGPT or some sort of bot. And so I think I'm going to segue a little bit into the MIT stuff because it's so top of mind for me. And like as a legal ops person, if we're talking about like implementation, that gap between personal productivity to a scalable, like business ready, enterprise ready process is where that huge challenge is. And it's highlighted by the MIT study, which I know you could like totally poke holes in. And I love people to like poke holes because I do see all of the issues with it. But like I think the sentiment is real though. And I'm like on social media, that's like where I usually like kind of learn about AI trends and what's going on and how people are engaging with AI. Like, I see both sides of like I feel like it's kind of two main sides. Like, is AI overhyped? Like this MIT study proves it. Or two, like, that's like this is BS. Like, like AI is like is like a game changer, which I agree. And I feel like both are right. Like the emotional impact of the study is like true, right? Like if you're in social media, if you're in TikTok, you'll see it. Like the people that are trying to actually implement AI, it's, there's challenges like any change management that goes on, but AI, like just the way the AI was evolving, the pace, just with the massive influx of different tools, and I feel like each model is like being like pushed out every 2 weeks, like that actually like makes like tool implementation just completely different from what legacy like I what the folks are used to, like with regular SaaS tools. Like I feel like people had a really structured cadence. There's usually like certain tools that were, like industry standards in the market, and you know how to do an RFP. It's like even roadmaps for these tools are pretty structured too. And so you could do these long-term plans, have these deep RFPs. Like it's just not the same anymore with these AI tools. And so I could see like there's like even that RFP portion that's challenging, and then the implementation. Like I feel like we are expected, like Nicole, like you, like I feel like I ask this of the team constantly to be like basically testers, QA people on top of their day jobs all the time, right? Like they have to continuously learn, continuously be creative. Like it is like it's like a real thing. So I could imagine, like that's why I like the MIT. Feel like it, like both sides of the argument blew up a little, and like I could as like kind of person in the middle, I 100% like understand. Like I'm so like I'm an AI enthusiast for sure, but also like I think we can't like glaze over the actual like changing like excitement into execution. Like that's real.
I
Yeah, so love that. So I feel like you and the MIT study and Nicole were kind of converging on this idea that this big kind of like, we're going to revolutionize overnight and process X is going to become process Y immediately. It's this huge thing, end to end, agents, etc. That's kind of one category of AI, but the category of AI that you're having success with and that Nicole pointed out is that creativity, that initial, like, I'm using it for my job in legal. I'm doing a data privacy impact assessment. I'm going to have AI help me specifically go through a checklist, or I'm going to have AI help me, review a contract or what have you. And so that aspect, I guess you homed in on something super interesting, Kelly, which is this like creativity, curiosity kind of that you're asking of Nicole. So switching it over to Nicole, like, is that like a personality trait? How do you like when I think about our users, there is an adoption curve, right? So we're going to drop the MIT study in the show notes so you can catch that in the show notes. But the MIT study basically said at a lot of companies, there's these top-down AI implementations and they're not working as expected because individual folks are not being supported as much. That's the thesis. You're the counterpoint, it seems, Nicole. Tell us about you and like I want to get real, like what makes you an early adopter? And when Kelly sends you an email, she's like, you got to test tool XYZ. What makes you not hit delete?
It's just it's fascinating. I love it. It's magical what it can do. These tools now open up these possibilities that were not possible before. But it takes time. It takes a lot of investment of time and grit and patience to get stuff out of them. Early on, I was talking to some friends, not lawyers, just about who's using it. And well, I tried it, but I tried to write a condolence card for someone. It was too flowery. It's like, did you try to ask it to make it less flowery? Flowery? You can do that, and right? It's a like that's a very small, simple example, but it like you do need to like push through and really get hands on to build that intuition of what the system can do and cannot do. And you have to keep doing that over and over again because the systems are so rapidly changing. It's not static. So what it can and cannot do today is very, very different than what it can and cannot do 3 months ago, 1 month ago, 1 year ago. And so you have to like it does take a lot of investment of time and just being interested in it. And there are times where I get really busy with my traditional job. I'm
Your
still
day
using,
job. Yeah.
right? Well, I didn't want to say that because I do think that AI is
It is part of the
part of
job.
my
No, no,
day
no, I
job.
get it.
I'm still using AI, but I'm not, when I don't have the time and space in my life to like be learning and exploring and pushing the boundaries. And like if that happened for a week or two, I feel so behind. And so like Kelly mentioned, it's overwhelming. And I think just like the pace of it changing and expanding is overwhelming, and it takes a lot to get into it and keep up. Um, you asked also, like, what we've done to get people on board, and it's a long process. Like, change management is a long process, but I really think that the best way to get people into using AI is to show concrete examples of what it can do and how to do it and walk people through it. And so Kelly and I and others on the legal team have had a lot of these sessions for people on, for our team to show, hey, this is, step one. This is how you set it up. This is how you access it. Then, like, these are the things you can do. This is what I do. And just showing that, and not just once, but periodically, and, like, leveling up a little bit each time so it's not boring. And then, like, showcasing other cool use cases from across our team, putting out polls, who's doing what. Let's present that to the team. I personally learned so much by seeing how other people are using it, what cool things they've thought of. And so it's just this continual, like, learning, sharing environment. We have that across the company, beyond the legal team as well. We have a Slack channel where people can put in the cool things that they're doing. And so it is this continual learning that you need to stay on top of it.
Like, honestly, like, we kinda going back to what Nicole already, like, said in the beginning, we had I understand, like, the top-down, like, issue that the MIT, like, study pointed out, but, like, that actually, I think, did help with adoption at Instacart, I would say. Like, there was, a lot of just constant reminders about using AI, and, like, even the basic, like, chat engagement, like, that, like you said, like, it's, that's the step, like, that's the first step you have to take, and even that's hard for some folks, but, like, when you're in a company and everybody else is using it day to day and you have, like, all these cool, like, use cases and you're not doing it, like, that's, I think people realize, "Ooh, I should check it out."
Yeah, I love what you're saying. I think this, like, you painted a pretty clear picture, the two of you, of like, okay, this is a couple of champions, which it sounds like the two of you, company wide receptivity to this. And then just a lot of, like, day to day, right? So you're going into this meeting and you're literally showing use cases. You're sharing them. It sounds like in Slack. You're saying, okay, I did that. So there, was your general counsel involved, or like what was the? Because what I've found, and folks listening, check out the episode with Alice Hunt and I'm sorry, Alice Davidson and Jenna Hunt from Topology, because they did this at a smaller company and kind of drove it. But very similar themes is what we're talking about here around getting people to change, getting people to embrace this new way of working, takes some work, and you got to kind of also make it fun. So, all right. So there we are with that. I guess question for you is like, what was your general counsel's level of involvement? And then, I have to imagine that even on a very forward thinking legal team, there's a natural adoption curve, right? So I went into one legal team and they told me, I said, hey, our corporate guy, he's the Eeyore of the group. If you can get him using AI, you will have won. And I'm very happy to report that Eeyore is using GCAI to do his proxy statements and like kind of do some of the research for that. So that was exciting. So two questions wrapped up in, was your GC involved? And then how do you handle the kind of back half of the curve, which is naturally you're going to have? And I think you're all a legal department of 60 or so, right? So how did
That's
you deal
right.
with that?
I mean, Nicole, like, I gotta say, like, Morgan, our GC, was heavily involved. He was very excited from the get-go, and I feel like, again, like, the constant existence of AI in our meetings and in our initiatives and in our projects, and just it was just, part I can't even you can't, like, divorce any of it. Like, I feel like once we had our, Ava, our Instacart's, like, chatbot, like, I feel like, they made it really easy for us to add it to our calendar, or to, like, put it as a browser, like Chrome browser. I feel like, you know, and, all of this, like, I feel like our GC constantly just reminded us, like, this is to, this is like a net positive thing just to check it out. And so, and then he built up, like, all of these committees that, Nicole mentioned, and activities for us to be able to share our use cases and drive adoption more and lift up the folks that might be a little bit less hesitant or, like, keyed into all of the chatter that's happening around AI.
Yeah, I mean, case in point, we periodically get together as a team convene in person. And our last one was earlier this year in San Francisco. And the theme of it was cultivating an AI first mindset. And we devoted a significant portion, the majority of our time together, or at least our working time together, to like exploring AI use cases, like bringing up everybody, like rising the tide of everybody to like shift to an AI first mindset, seeing what other people are doing, troubleshooting their problems. What do you wish it could do? What are you having problems with? Let's sit down and talk about it and figure out how you can embrace it more and more to unlock productivity gains, unlock things that were not yet possible. Don't just use it as a productivity tool, but like, let's think bigger. What can we do now that was not possible without these tools? And so just like, it's really just creating that space for the conversations and for the experimentation. And absolutely, our GC is fully into it.
Love it. So you said something about kind of thinking bigger, and I love that. So tie that back to me to the work you all do for stakeholders, right? So you're a product privacy counsel, you're legal ops, Kelly. At that time when I came up as product and privacy counsel, a lot of my clients were engineers, were heads of product management, that kind of thing. How does your being AI forward tie back to working with them? And I don't know if you've got any wins or anything like that, or product launches you were involved in, or any good stories to share, Nicole.
I'm going to pivot a little bit and talk about this legal at Instacart system that I and some of the people on our litigation operations team built. And the initial idea was to turn this extremely manual process. Legal at Instacart receives like hundreds of emails a week, ranging from super important to complete garbage and everything in between. And it was literally someone's almost full-time job to go through it, figure out what needed to be responded to, figure out like of the things that need to be responded to, like who's handling it, like getting it to the right places. And it was very time consuming and a lot of manual effort. We thought this is something that AI should be able to help us with. We had actually tried it last year and it didn't work, but tools evolve, things evolve. We tried again, got it. It's great. But then we don't just stop there. Okay, great. Now we have this triage system. It saves a whole lot of manual effort. It's doing great at that. What more can we do with that? Well, now we have this system that understands what kinds of things are coming inbound to legal. What insights and intelligence can we get from that? What predictions can we make about trends and things? And so that's something that we're building out too, that would not have been possible previously. I mean, sure, maybe if you wanted to hire several full-time people to like trudge through it and categorize and do regression analysis, sure, but nobody's ever going to do that. But now at our fingertips, we have these powerful systems that can unlock insights that we never would have been uncovered previously.
I love that example. So basically, AI, they've got, a team like Instacart, they're operating in a bunch of markets. They've got physical goods. They've got, this multi-sided marketplace, employment issues, privacy. I mean, you can just imagine the gamut, of a now public company doing this. And so literally y'all had legal at, and anybody in the company could email legal at. This is amazing.
Not just in the company, like external.
Oh, external. I mean, okay. Yes. So my blue cheese is moldy or whatever, and I'm emailing you. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I will say Instacart service is very good. Pro tip, if you travel as much as I do, Instacart yourself chargers to the hotel from the airport. Done that. Instacart yourself a microphone like I've got here. And you can do it. It is just absolutely outstanding. Okay, so you basically have this business intelligence that you didn't have before, it sounds like. And so what are you doing with that? And have the stakeholders noticed? Like, have the SLAs gone down, or like what's been the kind of like, we can maybe shift the conversation to the ROI word is like, okay, people think it's math or something, but no, it's just like, what has been the impact?
Yeah, I mean, but we have the triage system built up, and that has had like absolutely ROI, reducing processing time tremendously. It is no longer somebody's full-time job. The intelligence system was still being built out, but it's an example of the kinds of things that are able to be unlocked that were not previously possible.
Love that. Okay, so tell us about Contract Compass. Besides the great branding, what is it?
Thank you. I guess who helped me with that name?
Amazing, Kelly. All right, see, she's so humble.
She's ChatGPT, right? I'm assuming.
Dang. Okay. All right. Good stuff.
Yeah. Well, I bounced around. as I often do, I bounced around between ChatGPT and Claude for names. I forget who ultimately came up with that one. But yes, I mean, it's just an example using AI as a brainstorming partner. It wasn't the first name it gave me, but give me 50 names. Like, most of them are garbage, but there's gold in them.
I love that. It reminds me of so very early on in AI, we had just launched the product, and a friend of mine who is a plaintiff side employment lawyer was using the product, even though typically we're targeted in house. He had a deposition, and the witness was not being cooperative on a particular issue. He goes to a break and asks GCAI, he's like, "Hey, the witness is not cooperating on this question. Give me 25 ways to get at this thing." And he just exactly like you said, Nicole, he said half of them were garbage. But meanwhile, I had 12 questions that just got to the heart of the issue. I got back. That was the meat of the depot. And he's like, this is the new game, basically. The whole level is going to rise. And so I want to ask about that, Kelly. Like with the level rising, you've been in legal ops a long time. You've done a lot of different projects across time. What do you see like the lasting impact being here? Do you think people are going to lawyer harder? Do you think, to speak a little bit to the fear aspect that, Nicole, you said you weren't scared. Why not?
I mean, I think like just judging, well, I guess you never know what's gonna happen. I can't make predictions anymore, but like, or I never could, I guess. But I feel like there's always gonna be it's just like the shift of roles and tasks, I think, as you introduce new AI tooling. And then like Nicole's like a great example of a person that's like just baked in AI into their, life, and it makes her a better like teammate, a better attorney, a better just now like vibe coder. Like I feel like it just like, you know, you're still there and you're doing all of the things and you're the decision maker and you're, the pilot, all of that stuff. Like, but you're just super powered, charged in different ways. But all of that, you caveat with like all the like investment that Nicole mentioned about like double checking and doing your background. Like you can't take every, especially right now, but it just takes a lot of investment. But like I feel like the humans are there, and that's like a new part, like role for someone like Nicole and myself too. I like think like, talking about launching like new processes and investing and like finding new tools and things like that. Like one of the things I feel like I've been struggling with this for a while, and I hope like if someone from the audience could reach out to me and tell me like some good ideas. Like, um, with this landscape changing, with the tools like evolving constantly, like, like choosing between these niche products that are super cool that are, being like launched like every 2 weeks too. But then also the native, like, we have an environment, we have an ecosystem, we use Google Suite, we have all of these other, we're in Salesforce, whatever it might be like. And, these native, like these gigantic tools are, launching native AI constantly too, and trying to like really understand like what is the best way forward incorporating AI? Like should we literally be asking like users to learn like completely new like UI like all the time? Like should like or like I just feel like there's so many questions I have about adopting new tools right now and just like like implementing it, and how much push we should give to our teammates to be engaged in a process, or maybe it doesn't even make sense to like there should be a little bit more bifurcation between like the teammates and the folks that are like checking out AIs like actually the MIT like study really pushed me thinking into like, okay, like that study just really shows for me not necessarily like there's a failure in like process even or the tools, like, but it's just like showing the transition point we're in right now, right? Like I feel like we're trying so hard. Clearly like there's tons of like activity right now and adoption and excitement, and then, but some, like, we're still figuring out, like, how to best approach, like, actually, like, successfully, like, rolling out AI. Like, I always think, like, ooh, how did people start using, like, Word or,
Like
like,
the internet or like
like,
typing. Yeah,
how,
no, it's
yeah, like,
fascinating. Yeah.
It was slow.
right?
And it was.
The
And
adoption
it's
of
still,
all of
people
these
are still using fax
technologies.
machines, you know? You still
Yeah.
see that. Yeah.
It's just, but the pressure of it is like, I think it was the same. Maybe I need to we need to talk to folks who like, oh, how was your transition at work from like
No, I think
paper to Word? You
right now, I don't have the statistics offhand, but it was slow. And in fact, the adoption towards using generative AI is much faster than the transitions have been in the
because
past.
of like the pressure though, right? Like I feel like there's kind of like this collective. What do you think? Like I feel like it's social media
Well,
and like just like
that it's like there's lower costs to entry to, like, the adoption of a computer. You had to like go out and buy a computer, and they were these big machines and they were expensive, and so for a long time they were out of reach for most families. Now almost everyone has a computer, almost everyone has internet access, and ChatGPT was available for, publicly available for
Yeah.
free. And so there is this lower barrier to entry, but still, it's still, even though it is exponentially faster than the adoption of other technologies, it still
Oh, it's
takes a
hard.
long
I mean,
time.
I empathize so much with you, Kelly, and with the sentiment, and with Nicole too. Like, so yes, there is precedent in history. If you're interested in this historical topic, Chief Justice Roberts wrote a report on the state of the federal judiciary back in 24, talking about literally the federal judiciary adopting like word processors, and that this is the, AI is that for our era.
yeah.
And similarly,
You mentioned
1996, yeah, it's crazy. 96, the Illinois State Bar was debating if email was ethical for lawyers to use.
Wow.
Like, that was the
well,
debate. They sought public comment about it. And to their credit, they concluded, as we have now with AI, that yes, there is a way to use this ethically, as Kelly described, where you're verifying sources, and you're using it to kind of go to that next level. But Kelly, in terms of reassurance, I can tell you, so you and Nicole are absolutely at the cutting edge. And I think it's almost like a Silicon Valley kind of thing, I will say, to feel like you're behind. And I think
Mm.
also as lawyers, that happens to us, is like this, like kind of like almost law school-esque of like, you're kind of looking around, look left, look right. I'm like, where are people doing? The part that at least the solace that I take and that works for us is like, that this learning can be fun. And so our job as leaders in the legal team is like to create that environment where Nicole, she's like glowing, talking about using new tools and making sure that you set the framework to cascade that to the team. Yeah, this is so fun. All right, Nicole, you had a strong reaction on the historical piece. What's on your mind?
well, I mean, you mentioned fax machines, and like my mind was blown when I clerked on the Second Circuit in 2009, 2010, and that is how the judges communicated with each
Yeah.
other,
Yeah,
was
yeah.
by fax. And I'm like, oh my God, like
It's 2009. Yeah.
2009. And like, I have to call clerks from the other chambers and be like, was that a period or a comma that you put there? Because it's so blurry with the fax machine that I can't do it. So I'm curious
Wow.
if they use,
And they use now, yeah, no.
allow.
So I clerked about around the same time period on the Ninth Circuit, and we had knit memos where you wouldn't redline. Instead, you would prepare a memo that's like line, 17, paragraph 2, the comma should be a period. And we would literally type a memo that was like, dear esteemed judge, whatever, and send that over. And so
By
now
email
I
or
do
fax
think
though?
like redlining. Let's talk about redlining. So what is contract compass? Does it have anything to do with redlining? Paint us one more picture. Like, this is just so
Con-
fun to get
con-
this like
Contact
richness
Compass
of detail.
is not redlining. It's solving a different problem. But I have to credit, even though Kelly didn't work on it per se, I have to credit Kelly with it in part, because this is to the thing of like, there's so much to learn and so much to explore, and sometimes you get busy and you don't. And so vibe coding earlier this year, vibe coding, it was like always on my list. Like, I gotta try this, I gotta try this. But there was always other things that rose higher on the list. Ellie gave a demo of vibe coding. I'm like, okay, this is my impetus. I have to jump in. So I jumped in and I joined this Bolt hackathon. Bolt is one of the main vibe coding tools. And together with some other folks, we built Contract Compass, which solves the problem of, a contract is not a single document. There's the contract, there's the rider, there's all the amendments. The amendments typically don't restate and amend the whole thing. You have to like stitch them and piece them together. And so when I come in and I'm want to understand what the terms are, I go into our database and I search for the counterparty name, and I get back this list of like dozens and dozens of documents. I'm like, oh my God, what are the terms? What are the actual operative terms? And there's no document that gives that to me, shockingly. And so that's what Contract Compass does. It takes the various pieces of a contract and understands using AI what has been superseded and is able to like give a change log and
Wow.
give a final version of the contract. It's I didn't going into it, I wouldn't have branded it as GitHub for contracts because I didn't understand what GitHub does. But for people who know GitHub, which I am learning a little bit, it is GitHub for contracts.
Wow. So you created this, you coded this yourself, and it's like a landing page. I'm in legal at Instacart. I go to this, I pull up, let's say you got your deal with, I'll make this up, Albertsons. You search for Albertsons, you're going to get every version. You're going to get like a Git log, basically, of every version of that contract.
It is not integrated with our contract
Okay.
database at the moment, but yes, that's the idea. Right now you have to like upload documents to it, right?
Got it.
But yeah, you can upload the documents and then it comes back. You can see a document by document change log. You get an overall summary of the changes, and then you can get a final stitched together
Yeah.
version of
I love that. I love
yeah.
that. Yeah. So on the GCA, people have been asking for this type of functionality that is integrated. We've been calling it contracts nirvana. And I'm like, what do I call it? Because I think you're right that the state of CLMs today, unfortunately, is that they don't do this. And so it,
Which is
it seems
shocking to
kind of
me.
odd. It's shocking that it's 2025 and, a tool that, charges X amount of money to manage your contracts would not allow you this functionality. It's coming. I could tell you from the AI side, we're working on it. We have very similar functionality where you upload, this is a great AI use case where you upload to GCI or your tool of choice, like, hey, here's our contract with Acme. It's been amended 19 times with 3 spinoffs. We did have that with a customer where their primary agreement with this particular partner went back to 95 and had been amended 6 times, 26 contracts, 3 spinoffs. And the AI gave exactly what you described, Nicole, where it was like, okay, the operative contract is this 96 version. It was amended this, it was amended there. And, to your point, where like this used to be someone's full time job, the person who managed that contract, that relationship, like the primary lawyer on that deal or set of deals, was like, this would took me like a week when I first joined to like
Totally.
parse the contracts. Here's contract A, contract B. Oh wait, that was like actually amended and restated, and this whole thing. This kind of I love that. This is such a good example, and I might have to steal the branding. Look out for that. Just kidding, just kidding. No,
Yeah, no, no,
we'll come up with our
go
own
for it.
name, but
I love, but
the love that. That's
like the
amazing.
conversation also, brings up to me there's so much expectation and hype around AI. Not that I think it's overhyped, but like sometimes like you expect it to be able to do so much. Like you asked, like, oh, so it's like like if it's in your system, it's like no, not yet, right?
Not
And
yet.
because all of
Exactly.
these things take so much time, but I think a lot of people have this expectation, like, oh, I hear all of this hype, like I should be able to
You
just
should be
click
able
a
to do this.
button
Yes,
and like
exactly.
everything magically happens at once, and then when it doesn't do that, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, this is disappointing. It's like, no, no, no,
But
it's
you did it exactly
not.
before we were using fax machines. Yeah, no, I'm with you. And to me, like, I actually kind of love that because it reflects back to these kind of leadership themes that y'all talked about of growth mindset, where, they teach you in the book Growth Mindset. It's like, look, it's not that you can't do it, it's that you can't do it yet. Right. And so like get there. And
Yeah.
yeah, I love it because to me, it's always like when attorneys ask me like the kind of question I asked, I just did it. I literally just asked you that kind of question. I'm like, soon, like
Yeah,
trust. It is still better. It's kind of like not letting the perfect be the enemy of the good or the perfect be the enemy of the better, where it's like, okay, what systems can we put in place? This
yeah,
is so much fun. I'm just like loving this.
I
I'm
do.
getting like the time cue
I feel
here,
like
but
I do. I feel like I always want to like pick up like where I don't know. Maybe it's like just the nature of my role. Like I want to pick up where like both GCAI and like Contract Compass like kind of leaves off, right? Like you guys create these cool tools, and then what? Right? Like I feel like I'm like there's that friction point for me, right? Like then what? And so like to all those questions about actually operationalizing and adopting and stuff like that, and like all of the questions I think about when I'm like like existing workflows, existing clients, like, and then like the with a broader landscape of tools available. Like, what does it mean? Like, I feel like with the transparency of each, even like choosing what model you want to have behind. Like, I feel like, oh, they're deprecating ChatGPT for like one of the for one of these. It's like I feel like there's all of these questions. Like to your point, like I feel like AI is so like I use like when I'm in Cursor, I feel like what the hell? Where was this my entire life? Like why am I playing around with stupid dashboards? Like when I could just create one by asking this Cursor to do it for me. And but like there's these like realistic issues like now, right? Like, okay, well, I want to share this. Like this is, something that Nicole and I are like working on. Like how do we internally share it like securely and then in like not losing anything, not like disrupting, like if we can't teach people how to download a repo or like you can't. I feel like there's these like realistic issues that come up when you're trying to like scale something even to a smaller level. Like I always I feel like it would be remiss of me if I don't like mention this portion of it. But, it's like both makes it hard because like AI is like both like limitless,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
great,
I
but
mean, look, and
yeah,
this is genius. I hear you say that of like what now, and that's legal ops' job, right? So we've
yeah,
had a bunch of conversations on this podcast around kind of adopting AI, around how do you empower legal teams to move fast and do meet the business where they are and in fact advance the business. And so when you're saying like, okay, the what now of like the realistic, I think that's where people, and maybe the MIT study is getting at this, it's like, okay, fun, Nicole and I are having fun, like just can't contain us. We're like
yeah,
we're falling off the screen here, so excited about the stuff we can do. But then it's like, okay, how do you get the long chain of the whole department of like the job has to get done? And so like translating that, I think it's for me, it's actually what you're bringing to mind for me is like when I, as a CEO, I'm like building a team. Like, how do I have those super early adopters that move fast, you know, and kind of like want to do the new thing people, and yet have the operational excellence to, in your case at Instacart, deliver, hundreds of chargers to people that forget them at their
yeah.
hotel, every day, right? So like really getting that business leadership. So what are your tips, as we switch to slightly more personal, Kelly, what are your leadership tips? So you've had this great career at these like fabulous tech companies. What would you tell your listeners or your general, maybe non-AI leadership tips?
I mean, I feel like the AI like an environment is like a really good. I feel like just like feeling like you want to learn constantly, and then just like living that. Each like challenge feels like ooh, like new thing. Like okay, well, what's next? And then kind of bringing that because like I feel like a lot of times I'm what is it like? There's a term for when you're persuading sideways. Like
Like influence? Yeah.
yeah, like is that like horizontal influence? Like
Leading by
yeah,
influence or
there
kind of,
you go,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, and I feel like a lot of that is, like, just, like, getting that energy alignment, like, if people are motivated to, like, work with you and, like, get excited about that goal, I do think, like, that's, like, everyone's so busy, like, getting that like, that meshing well together and then pushing it forward, so, like, really, like, feeling that for yourself about, like, trying to be engaged with, like, well, feel like the world, but, just, like, all of the new technology or processes that are out there, and then trying to, like, get other folks, like, in that same, like, space as you, so you're not just stuck on your own, so
Love
Yeah,
that.
I love that. Just like being open-minded and having the curiosity and just a learner's mindset, I think is so important like with everything, but especially with AI because it is all so new and there's people calling themselves experts and there certainly are like AI researchers who are true experts, but I think most people like nobody's really an expert yet leading in, learning, experimenting, but being curious and open-minded and willing to like get hands-on and explore, I think is what I don't want to say makes you an expert, but I guess it's really the only way
How
to
you
learn.
get there, like the kind of this journey aspect. No, I love that. So on that note, Nicole, what's a book, podcast, article, something where people can go? Maybe it's the MIT study, but what is somewhere where people can go and think about how something that shaped you? Any book that shaped you, either on the tech side, leadership side, legal side.
I really enjoyed The Worlds I See by Fei Fei Li. It it blended a lot of the human element to also just and we talked about already, like the grit and perseverance and determination that it takes to push the boundaries. And so I really love that book. I mentioned earlier, I love podcasts too. I listen to all manner of podcasts, but I particularly love listening to ones that are not necessarily tech focused or lawyer focused, and just kind of get that broader perspective. And, Radiolab is a podcast that I've been listening to for a long time, and it's just filled with like, investigative journalism, taking these big ideas, often science or technical, but presenting them in a very human and real way. They do have a legal spin-off, More Perfect, which was exploring Supreme Court cases in a way that we don't learn about them in law school, really looking at the human element, the story behind the story. But I think it's very important to have that broader perspective and then be able to connect the dots with like something you learn here in this other domain and how it might apply to my legal work, my explorations with AI. So I love that.
Kelly, any podcasts that you have in
Yeah.
common, or anything to recommend on top of the great ones that Nicole shared?
Yeah, like same. Like I feel like I definitely love to listen to podcasts, and shout out to definitely anything NPR. But and also like, but these days I feel like I'm a little bit hooked on like TikTok and stuff. And that's where I'm getting a lot of my like tips or like new like because it changes so fast. I feel like even podcasts that come out like every week or even daily sometimes aren't keeping up. Like I heard the term MCP like months ago, and I'm like now it's kind of blowing up in like kind of more mainstream stuff. But like I'm like and people are just like, oh, what MCP? Like I'm like, what is that? And that on TikTok, just users are like talking about how it's been incorporated and into their ecosystem, and like obviously you have to be really careful about what you like learn on TikTok, but like I feel like it's just something like really easy to be like that seems really like on point and like live basically. And so I've been kind of hooked on. There's like a few like AI folks that are just like normal folks that are like whatever AI data analysts in this place or just AI enthusiasts, that are very interesting creators for sure.
I love that. So this y'all are so kind of like tech forward and love to learn. It's making me so happy. All right. So closing reflections, Nicole, if someone listened to only this conversation from you, of course they can follow you on LinkedIn, they can find you, but anything that any nugget around them understanding using AI in legal or in general, how you approach your job as a senior counsel at Instacart?
I think just being willing and interested to get hands on, deeply understand the business, deeply understand the systems, deeply understand the tools. I apply that to my work generally, to my use of AI. I love to just get in and figure it out.
I love that. Kelly, how about you? Any principle or mindset you want folks to take away listening to this?
I mean, that's I gotta say, like, really, like, learning, like, the learning mindset and, like, part of the challenge, I think, like, right now for me in particular, I guess, like, is, like, how do I, like, add in that learning mindset to, like, the organization? So, like, we're learning fast enough and adapting fast enough and, so it's not really about the AI. It's, like, just us, like, just, being ready for any changes because it's gonna come.
Love that. Change is going to come. All right. So the two of you have shown us how legal teams can move beyond AI curiosity into real practical impact, right? How leadership comes from building with both ambition and empathy. Where can people connect with you to learn more?
Reach out. I'm on LinkedIn. Happy to connect.
I can assure you that you all are quite a bit ahead. And with our listeners, we're kind of all on this journey together. So thank you all for taking this journey with me. That was my conversation with Nicole Altman and Kelly Noguchi. They're two leaders at Instacart Legal who are proving that AI in legal, it's not hype, it's real tools, it's contract compass, it's moving forward, and it's systems making an impact and a difference, both in AI adoption and across the business. So if you're thinking of bringing AI into your own practice, whether through small experiments, cultural change, fun, learning mindset, or building whole new systems, I hope this episode gave you something to take back to your team. Follow CZ and Friends wherever you get your podcasts. You can subscribe to our newsletter at gc.ai/newsletter for more conversations, behind-the-scenes tools, and takeaways for you and legal leaders in general. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.